Okay, we are back for the final part. Now that you've finished all of the face and the hair, we're going to head on to clothing. If you have any, if you don't have any clothing on your character, you can go ahead and finish up the background after. I'm going to explain a little bit of what I do in the background after this. But if you want to leave your background plain, then you can leave it plain. It's really up to you. But if you do have clothes, I just start pulling out paints that appeal to me, the color, thinking about what I would wear and, what, depending on what kind of clothing they have. This hat just happens to have goofy bear ears on top of it because I just thought it was kind of fun and dorky, and I don't know many men who would really wear a hat with bear ears on it, but kind of the point, I guess. So I went ahead and painted a really obnoxious bright green to kind of go with his bright pink face. And I'm just filling it in a solid green. Um, Sometimes I'll draw in all the make like a knit hat and draw in all the little actual knit stitches. But I'm a knitter and that's just kind of fun for me. I do that sometimes, but for the sake of this being a filmed video and that takes a long time, I figured we'd just do a solid hat this time. And I'm shading in his little bear ears. And really, clothes are really can be fun or they can be tedious if you get too uptight about them looking real, or or having too worried about them. And like everything else, if you try something and you don't like it, paint over it. And one great thing too is if you do kind of weird and wonky backgrounds like I do usually, you could always paint something, and then if you decide that you don't want him to have barriers and decide that, oh, he looks like a dork, or you're just not feeling the barriers, you could take another paint color and block out his ears and change the background, or paint flowers over the top, or make other stuff. So it's really be free and loose and just paint whatever you feel. I'm doing a little checkered uh, hat band around the edge. Sorry, I couldn't think of what to call it. Just to add a little detail, kind of to frame his face. But being really loose about it and not being, not worrying too much, I think is key. Have fun with it, and if decide you really decide you don't want, like if you started painting a hat like this and decided it just didn't work and you'd rather him just have hair, you can still do that. Don't freak out and think you ruined it. What you could do is take some black paint and paint over just the hat, and then once the black paint, either use a some sort of dryer or let it air dry. If you have to let it air dry, make sure it's nice and dry before you take another color. You could use your original background color and then go over the black, which is actually what I did on this. It was a layer of black and then a background color on top of that. But you could layer on the original background color over the black where you would want more hair, and then just paint hair on, and so it's always, things are always fixable. It's just a matter of deciding, what you like and what you don't like. It's not good or bad. It's not that you made a mistake. It's, oh, I changed my mind. I don't think he needs a hat. Or, the character tells you it's too warm for a hat and he doesn't want a hat, so he decided he wants hair instead. It's all about having fun and making art that you enjoy. And don't worry about what others think. If you like it, make it. Do it. Put it in, give him a hat, or give him no hat, or give him, curly hair or crazy hair. Or dreads. Dreads are fun to paint, to give them dreadlocks. So the hat looked a little opaque, or not opaque, a little see-through. That's the word I was looking for. It just, because the paint, the green color is the brand of paint it is a lot thinner. So I did a little second layer just to kind of make it look the hat look a little thicker than it, like it would be in real life. So added a little more just to make it kind of oomph up a little bit. And I did do the hat brim a darker green. It's the same green but without any white in it to make it stand out a little more. So it's a little darker, a little bit different. Just putting a pink in the ears because, I don't know, this guy, his name is Frank. He's all about the pink for some reason, which, just for fun. I don't think many men would be caught dead wearing a bear hat with, green bear hat, but what the heck. Apparently this guy likes bear hats and pink. Oh, I should have edited that out. Sorry about that. Me drinking my huge cup of coffee. That's pretty standard. The camera is above my head, so it's hard for me to know. I can't really see when I'm filming when it's filming. Once again, the really cheap craft. It sounded like I said craft paint. And they're all different brands, and I just wait until when they go on sale. I try to pick up colors that I use a lot. Painting his shirt, I like to give them stripes for contrast sometimes, just for fun. I don't know, stripes are fun to paint. They're more fun than doing a plain t-shirt. But you could give some sort of what do you call it? Like some sort of emblem or something on the shirt if you wanted them to have, stars or a skull on the front of their shirt or hearts or whatever, or you could just do a plain shirt. A lovely shot of my head and my hairband. And I should have edited those more out, but I'm sorry. It seems like I've been editing this one forever. I had to edit because people kept coming in to talk to me when I was doing it, so it took a lot to take out all the little bits and pieces. My studio happens to be in our house, so I get interrupted a lot. But just fill in, nothing really special, And even the stripes are pretty wonky. I don't try to make them straight or, any exact way. And you'll even notice that when I drew Frank on, he is kind of at a wonky angle. I just thought it would be fun. They don't have to be dead on, up and down, straight, or you could turn, any direction. You could have them upside down. I've done that a couple times, or whatever you choose. It's just kind of fun to paint them at weird angles or give their necks really weird angles that your head would probably not feel real comfortable in real life doing, but it's fun to give them excuse me, I thought I was gonna sneeze. Strange angle is sometimes fun. And I was picking off. Sometimes I have paper that's glued down on mine, and so sometimes I'll peel off a little teeny stray if it starts to get in the way. A little piece of paper. Drying it. Exciting. And this is a silver by the brand Folk Art. And Folk Art paint is, fairly inexpensive. I want to say this was, a couple dollars or maybe even $1.50. But they have a really nice silver that is not, it's not super thick, so it goes on so you can do a couple layers if you want it heavier, but it's kind of it's the nicest silver paint that I found that is easy to apply and doesn't get really, some of them get really goopy. I don't know if it's what they use to make the silver paint, if there's some sort of, like mica flakes or something in it. But this is a really nice brand. It's the silver that I found that I love the most out of all the silvers I've tried. So I also recommend airbrush paint if you like gold and silver and things like that. At Michael's, sometimes they sell what's called Createx airbrush paint, and it comes in small containers, similar containers to the folk art paint, but it is a lot more watery because it's supposed to go through an airbrush machine. But you can just pour it on your palette and paint with it like regular old paints, and it's much thinner, and they have a fabulous Createx gold that works really nice. And I have found, and they're a little bit more expensive. They're about $4 or so, $4 or $5 for a container. But one little container, if you're using gold just as an accent, lasts quite a long time. I've had mine for, oh gosh, I think 5 years. I bought it before we moved from Northern California and haven't had to replace it. And now I'm adding some background, foreground detail. I like to put geometric shapes and different things on my paintings for no rhyme or reason, then they're just fun. This is something that I doodled a lot as a kid, just repeated geometric shapes, or shapes that are kind of odd. They're not even really that geometric. They're kind of wonky, weird shapes, but I like to draw squares and triangles, and the kind of doodling you do when you're on the phone for a long time waiting for service or talking to a friend. Save some of your little pads and things that I know everybody seems to doodle. Those doodles can become fun if you add them into your art. But if you don't want to do anything, add anything, there's nothing wrong with having your character and just have a really plain background, or just do one solid color, or you could do a gradient of color. It's really a personal choice, but I prefer to add some sort of weird patterns, and sometimes I will paint patterns before I paint the characters. If I'm not sure what character I want to do yet, sometimes I'll just start making patterns and doodles and things on the canvas or paper, and then add a character afterwards. And so you can kind of figure out how to paint around things or add things. The black sections that I'm painting over now were from, I started out blacked over all the paper and then started adding another color that would be much easier to draw on, because drawing on black is a real pain unless you have really good white pencils. So I went to cover the black and decided that I liked these two little sections that hadn't been covered yet. I just was painting over with a really big foam brush. And these little sections were still there, and I kind of liked them. And, instead of getting more paint out of it, I figured, oh, I just leave them and paint some sort of shapes over them. So this is all this is. It's not anything great or, big planning or anything, just random fun shapes. And they just add kind of a fun contrast. Here, same thing, just, lines and shapes to fill in, to break up the black space a little bit. And finally, on a lot of my paintings, I do something to highlight the characters, whether it be outline them with, sometimes I'll outline them with a graphite pencil, or sometimes do a white outline around them. But a lot of what I've been doing for the last couple years is this dotted line that looks like a line of stitching all around the characters. I come from a background, I spent, 10 years as a fiber artist and an art quilter. So I think it just comes from my love of sewing and working with fiber, and so it's just a simple dotted line all around the character to accent, and I did it in a turquoise, the same turquoise blue that's around his eye and the stars. And again, not required. If you are happy with your character and you think you're done, go for it, leave it alone. But sometimes I think it can be fun to add a little bit extra